Good evening, everyone, and happy Sunday, which is now episode 11, which is pretty crazy now. It's 11 episodes. Episode 10 was just dropped today. And there's a lot of Yankees, a lot of, same as last week, a lot of baseball, a lot of football. But first of all, how was your week?
My week's pretty good, pretty busy. How about yours, buddy? How's work?
It was good. Work was good. School started. So
Back
that's,
at back at school, how'd it feel?
yeah, it was a little stressful, but it was fun to be back because work's getting harder, but with
Yeah.
through school. But
Well, you're hitting the prime time of fun, and we're hitting the prime time of sporting seasons as football's about to kick off. Baseball playoffs not too far away. Hockey season's not too far away. This is my favorite time of year, just around the
mm,
corner. Let's not wish it all away, but let's start with the Yanks, Matt. 13 game winning streak comes to an end last night. Judge does get a 2-run home run to give you that little tease to tie it, but you can't really complain about anything that's happened. It was another pretty good starting performance from the pitcher. The offense just didn't have it. I thought it was the ace pitcher who was the one to credit for most. Things
yeah.
that concern me a little bit is Rizzo came over here with all these accolades fielding. In his first week, he was making unbelievable plays. Now he's making a lot of mess ups in the field. Think that's something you think he's getting nervous a little, or the pressure's too much?
I don't really know on that point. I mean, I think Rizzo was really hot. I don't know if that's a COVID thing or whatever. That's like a whole different story. You could
Good
say it's
point.
that or
Yeah.
whatever, or he's just in a bad groove. But I think right now, Luke Voigt should be getting every start. Rizzo should be mixed in there a couple times, but Voigt should be getting every start. And also the other trade that they made with Gallows, for him. My thing with him is he's been a little back and forth, but he's had clutch hits, which is good. So I see that aspect that's good going into the postseason
Well,
is
I think he's a good defender. I love seeing
great
that
arm.
I love seeing that gigantic outfield. He's made some great catches. He does get on base despite his terrible batting average. I saw a funny stat because he banged into the double play in the last game. He has like one of the lowest career all-time stats for batting into double plays because he hit so
Oh,
many fly
really?
balls. Yeah, it was a crazy stat. But I mean,
It's
the bottom
You
line
should have
is,
seen that homer, that 3-run homer. I thought it was a fly out. Like that
I
ball
know.
was crushed. It was hit so high in the air. I was like,
Yeah,
"There's no
he's
way
got a
that's
little
leaving."
of I know you weren't around, but he's got a reminds me a little bit of Darryl Strawberry's swing. Just that long uppercut. When he hits it, it's gone. Um,
Yeah,
but it's really been Giancarlo and Judge and LeMahieu. All of a sudden, they're back. They're playing all the time, and they are starting to hit the ball again. And I think that's who's carrying them. On top of the pitching being solid.
yeah. I mean, the starting pitching has been everything he asked for. Cole the other day, dominant, and I think it was like 6 shutout innings, got the win. He looked good. I think he had 9 strikeouts. I might be wrong with that, but he looked good. He worked into a lot of jams. Obviously, you could tell maybe it's the sticky stuff gone, but he's still walking guys. So like I think that's
Yeah.
still a product of control, but he's had really good starts the past couple times. The ERA's gone down sub 3 now, and he's been solid. I didn't like that they had to move Heel down, but it was the right choice with
I think
Kluber
that's
being
just
activated.
Yeah, but
And
I think he'll be back again. That's just rearranging who you got in the bullpen. I know
yeah,
Lucas Licky. Everyone's been
I hate
gushing
him.
over him, but I can't stand him. I don't want him in there.
I don't think he's clutch. I think it's just having another lefty bullpen arm to face
Yeah, I just
lefties.
don't.
Like
Yeah. Well, I think people like him because he's been out of the league and they didn't expect much, and he's doing average. I don't think he's that great. What's
well,
frustrating me most about
yeah.
this whole stretch is the Rays are still on fire, and you can't catch any games
Well,
on them.
we could be doing this good if we were playing the Orioles every series. Like that's a little ridiculous. But the a good thing
Which
that I've
brings up
noticed
a
with
good
the
point after this.
yeah, which a good thing to point out with the Yankees though is they're a 3-dimensional team right now. The bullpen looks good. Chapman finally had a decent, like good ninth inning,
Yeah,
even
he
though he
still
still had
doesn't
a.
give you that confidence, though. You don't feel great about it yet.
I'm glad Zach Britton's out for the season. That makes me feel better. I
That's
don't think
a terrible thing to say. You're glad he's out for
he, their offense. It's always just it's ridiculous when Stanton's just. There's no way that. Do you see the homer the other day? Not the
Oh my
one
god!
with
It
72.
should have been
The
like a
one off
short
the center of
fly
the bad
ball.
eye.
It's ridiculous. Just
But the one that went directly to center, they
yeah,
called that
he
fourth
killed somebody in center
36.
field. Yeah, it's
They called
ridiculous.
that fourth 36. There's absolutely no chance that was 436. And
Well,
then
I mean,
it's
regardless, they're just shots that shouldn't be home runs. Like he catches half a swing off the bat and the thing's gone.
472. He is just, I mean, and when him and Judge now, that stat continues to be more intriguing. When Judge and Stanton at home are in the same games, including the playoffs, the Yankees are 12-1. That one
Uh,
loss is the Field of Dreams, which shouldn't have been a loss, but that's a
yeah,
song
that
for
was.
another time.
But yeah, exactly. I mean, and Stanton, I thought has been, except for the misplay the other night, I don't recall him making any other bad plays in the field. He's been pretty solid, and he's got a strong arm too. So I love that huge outfield. I love Voit or Rizzo being the DH and first baseman, depending on who the pitcher is.
Yeah.
That lineup just is scary. But as we look ahead, what do you have Kluber coming back. I don't
Yeah.
have
I
much faith
mean,
in him. I know you think he's the greatest ever because he pitched one game.
I mean, they have tonight. They have it's Montgomery versus guy Paul Blackburn, and this is another game where I'm going to point out with the Yankees playing well and Montgomery's a better pitcher than him. That this is a game you want to really win. I don't think it's good. I know we're talking about they're coming off a 13-game winning streak,
Yeah,
but
your
to end a
expectations
series
are
like this, yeah,
delicious.
to end a series like this, going out of a great week and you don't take 3 out of 4. But I'm not gonna go on those. I want to make another big point about the lineup. I'm not gonna talk about try to be Debbie Downer, but I think another good point is with I don't really miss Torres but point with Urshela coming back is just how much versatile the whole lineup gets. Urshela
Oh,
on Colstart making incredible plays at third base. I don't know how he doesn't have a Gold Glove yet. And
I
when you have
agree. Well, he's always been known for his fielding, and when he came to the Yankees, only really when he started to hit.
And you look at now if you could put so Judge is batting 295, 29 homers and 70 something RBIs. He hasn't put those numbers up since his rookie year. And everyone's like
He's
he's
on the
such a
field. It's just that's it. When you
115 games and they still have, let me see. They still have I think they have 31 games left, so they still have a ways to go and he hasn't played. I think this is the most games he's played in a season since his rookie
don't
year.
jinx it. Don't jinx it. Yeah, he's only really missed for COVID this year, and it's not some bizarre injury. Same with Stanton being in the field has just been a different person. The psychological value of baseball and being able to, when you get in a slump and being able to get out of it, and they look. They
Well, you
look
know
like
what? You know what the big difference is you look when they come to the plate, and especially Stanton, is the strikeouts are still there, but they're down. Like Stanton's coming up, he has confidence and he's putting the ball in play. And
100%.
that's when he leads to more hit. Like I saw the other day, he was all over a low slider in the zone. It was a line out to left, but maybe that's a pitch earlier in the year he takes and then he's down 0-1 in the count, or he
Yes,
swings
yes.
brutally and misses it. They're putting, especially Stanton, Judge's strikeouts, but Judge is doesn't look like an idiot sometimes at the plate. When Stanton
Stan could look really bad at times at the plate for sure. But
yeah.
I think the confidence of playing in the field, and it hasn't hurt them, has been a huge plus for him. And then him playing the outfield opens up that DH spot where you can move everybody
Yeah.
around. It makes the lineup so versatile. And then they could been able to use the speed game, which was in the first half of the year was non-existent. Now they're putting on pressure on every catcher in there, and that gets in the pitcher's head, and it just all compounds. It feels more like the
Yeah.
playoffs when you're putting that offensive pressure on the pitcher at all times and the
Well,
catcher for that matter.
yeah. To make a kind of couple few points they should try to a little bit of issues they should pick up before the postseason. I mean, you look at the lineup now. I love Velasquez. He's been a great defensively. Offensively, he's been really
He's
good this
made some
series.
incredible plays at defense, and his hitting's been clutch. And I even feel like the outs he's made have been hard hit balls just at somebody.
I mean, exactly. And I feel like really the only guy you really could get going is when you have Torres come back or Sanchez. Because, I mean, Higashioka ripped a homer the other day, but he has those occasional, just bombs off the bat, which is
Yeah,
what happened there? But will they,
I
I mean,
mean,
I
I think
think,
when Torres back, he's going to roll right back into shortstop. with Urshela at third, and then you're just going to have a more diverse lineup as the game goes along. They'll have Wade and these guys on the bench with speed to make changes, to be a good late game defensive team. And
Yeah.
there's depth. There's quality people to move around.
Yeah.
Before we go too much further, let's take a look at what the season looks ahead for the Yankees when you look at their schedule,
Yeah.
and give me an idea of what we're thinking here.
I mean, you have the game against Oakland tonight, which is like whatever happens there. 3 against the Angels, and you got your starters are going to be Kluber, someone, and then Cole. I forget who the second one is, but I think, I mean, I don't think anything can happen there. But the big thing is when they come home then for 7 straight games and 3 against the Orioles, 4 against the Blue Jays. That's where you can pick up kind of some on the Rays, because now you're playing. When you have your turn against the Orioles, it's time for you to sweep them. And
Yeah.
then they have 3 against on the road, 3 in City Field against the Mets. Mets are
Who
really
are
bad
a
right now. I'm
team?
not afraid.
Yeah. The Mets are everything
Yeah.
that could go wrong
The
is
the
going
big
wrong.
thing, I think, I mean, they have some good teams. Like the Yankee schedule is not too hard. The big thing to point out here is the 3 on the road in Fenway at the end of September, and then the 3 at home in Tampa Bay to wrap, or in New York against Tampa Bay to wrap up the year. Those are the 6
Those could
important
be some
games.
great games if these teams
You
keep
can't,
playing
yeah,
like that.
you can't collapse in Fenway, and you have to beat the Rays. And I
Well,
think that,
also, when we get to that point, someone's going to be jockeying for a wild card, or are they both going to be jockeying for the division? Because if they both use their number one starters like a Cole to
mhm,
try to win in that series, it may make them not available to the
yeah.
team who's got to play the one game wild card. So that's will be a tough choice for the manager. Do I pitch Cole for a chance to win the division and skip the wild card, or do you pitch Cole or save Cole in case you're tossed into a wild card game? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
going
I'm
for
gonna
the
make
win every time.
yeah, I'm gonna make 2 key points here before we move on. Then I'm gonna ask you a question to wrap up with the Yankees. But one, I think one point I'm gonna make is I'm just gonna give an update on the standings in the East at least. As of right now, I mean the Blue Jays I've considerably put at it removed from the picture. I mean they're 13 and a half games out of the division. They're 6.5 out of the wild card. I feel like that's just too big of a hole unless you have a
There's a
massive
lot of
comeback.
teams between them. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, then you have Seattle's 5.5 back in the wild card, then Oakland 3.5. But in the AL East right now, Boston, what is scary now? I mean, Boston, I think they just lost or something. But Boston, let's see. No, they're playing right now. Or the Ray? Oh no, the Rays just beat the Orioles again. Not a shock, but so the Yankees have to win today. You don't want to go down 6 games, but the Orioles or the Red Sox are 7.5 back of the Rays, and they're only 2 behind the Yankees. So that's nothing. And they're
No, that's
leading.
one series. Yeah,
Yeah,
anytime
that's
within a
nothing. So I feel like the Red Sox were a little behind a couple of days ago, but they're playing the Indians. So this is an important game today because the Red Sox are winning, and then the Yankees are 5.5 back of the Rays. So that can be. You're right. 1 3-game set can literally goes good one way and bad the other way for a team. And you have 2.5 games, like exactly like that. But in the wild card, the Yankees have a 2-game lead, which against the Red Sox. So right now they are in the first wild card. And then my second point was going to be about that wild card. I think for the Yankees, obviously you want to make the playoffs, but I'm not so 100% sure they'll win the division. So I think in the case like that, you got to look at it as I don't care what happens, but at the end of the day, I need to know that we have a home wild card game and Garrett Cole's on the mound. Because push comes to shove, if you're
well, that will be
facing,
the key, like arranging the pitching schedule so you could line up Cole if you need him for that game.
yeah, I
And
mean,
sometimes you don't get that luxury when you're in a race.
well, that's what I think. I think the best thing to do right now is if you have a home game against the Red Sox, I think your best scenario is you throw Cole out there because at home is a whole nother plus. And then with Cole, who what we know he can do, I don't think the Red Sox have a pitcher, even Sale, that can match up on the
Yeah,
road with the Yankees in a
there's not
one
going to
game.
be someone. the Red Sox don't have that guy who you're scared of that could go 8 innings and like completely shut you
Because
down in the
I'm not
playoffs.
afraid of Evaldi. I'm afraid of Evaldi in Fenway. I'm not afraid of Evaldi at
Yeah,
Yankee Stadium.
Fenway is like playing in a weird place because it's like a weird wiffle ball stadium.
Mhm.
The scores get out of control. Things could implode at any time with any pitcher, and that's
Or
what's
or
frustrating.
you or you go back, say, or you can throw, if it's at home, you could throw Nestor Cortez and you go a bullpen game, which I love.
I'm not
I
throwing Nestor Cortez out in a playoff must-win scenario. He has not
but
earned
but
that.
he but think about it yesterday, what he gave. I think he gave either 6 or 7 3-run innings. On any day, I take that from my pitcher because what the Yankees offense could do. Unfortunately, they didn't
I
match
don't
up.
disagree with you that I mean I like the way Nestor Cortez has pitched and I think he's been great, but you're paying Cole $300 million. I want him on the mound in that situation. The key is arranging so that the schedule so that you could get there, and
But then
we're
what
not going to
hurts
know
is
that.
that if you say skip a couple days till the division series, then like one thing I was looking at a couple days ago, and I was giving a good look at teams in the NL and the AL, and I locked in on the AL to see like, all right, Yankees are in a wild card and they win. So like I was going through some scenarios. I was thinking as of right now, it looks like it's going to be White Sox, Astros, Rays, and most likely Rays
Yeah.
that the Yankees would face in the division series. And I was going through in my mind, I was still thinking to myself, I was like, I'm not really considerably scared of any of those teams if I meet up in the playoffs because you match up the
Uh, they,
Yankees.
they they have a lineup that could beat every one of those
It
teams.
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't matter if they're in the wild card. They did it in 2017 and they went into Cleveland over 100 wins and they did it. And I think I'm not afraid of the Astros because I'm not afraid of the Astros pitching. Their offense,
Yeah, it's their pitching's not that scary.
Zach Greinke is not what
Verlander.
he used to be.
Yeah,
I don't
the
even think
Yankees own
Verlander's playing.
Greinke. No, he's
Yeah,
out. That's what I'm saying. You don't have that starter that you're like, oh no, like this guy's just going to shut you
exactly.
down.
And
And I
we've
won't give
seen
credit to
what
past
like
Red Sox pitchers who did that, but like, yeah, you can't have that,
yeah.
especially in a one-game playoff. The shutdown starter, and the Yanks would have that advantage.
Mhm.
I don't want to. The Rays, they
I think
psychologically have an edge over the Yankees. I think the Yankees have no fear over the White Sox. The Yankees Astros brings a lot of juice to the table, but we'll see.
mhm.
We
Well,
can't
I
spend
well,
too
what
much.
what I look though like with if you look at the Rays, I'm not afraid they're starting pitching. There is that psychological effect, but I still think the Yankees are a better postseason team than the Rays. I'm really afraid of the White Sox because they actually have good pitching, like actually
They
have good
do.
starting pitching, and they have a good bullpen. So and they have
I
a good
think they're a little
offense.
young, that team, to get there. You
I
know,
agree.
the Yankees got into their bullpen pretty bad in that series. So next time the Yankees see them, they're going to feel
They
good about
crushed
that.
Liam Hendricks. Yeah.
Yes, and they got him twice in 2 games, so I think they'll feel pretty good about that. Well, let's wrap up on the Yankees. Did you have one final question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what is your wild card, whatever position they find themselves in, what is your what's your playoff starting lineup look like? I'll give you mine, but I want to hear
Uh,
yours first, like what your lineup looks like and the bench.
well, the bench, we know what the bench is. So depending if it's a right-handed pitcher or a left-handed pitcher, but for the most part, it's Rizzo at first, LeMahieu at second, um, Torres, if he's back and he's played at least a week or in the field. I don't
Mhm.
like guys coming in cold right into the playoffs, but
Yeah,
Torres, Urshela, um, if Cole's pitching, whoever he wants at catcher. If it's someone else pitching,
mhm.
Sanchez, and then the three huge guys in the outfield and Voit as your DH.
I
That's
agree with
the
that.
yeah. I like DJ leading off. I like having Judge second, Giancarlo third, actually even maybe Gallo third, so you break up righty lefty, and then Stanton after him, and then you could just go righty lefty down the way. That's my lineup. You keep Wade on the bench. He's your first guy for speed. He's your first guy for defense, except for shortstop. I don't see a lot of place for Odor to play once we get to the playoffs.
I see,
Unfortunately,
I see, I see Velasquez, Odor, and then whatever catchers left, and Wade on the bench
yeah,
for the playoffs.
exactly.
And then
And
I
then
see,
also Gardner on the bench.
yeah, poor Guardy. Maybe he makes him in a couple like a game or something. But I think Hopefully someone gets hurt. But I think with the lineup, I would go with LeMayu, Rizzo, Judge, Stanton, Gallo, Voit, Torres, Urshela, then a catcher, and then I don't know what else I'm missing. Someone
Yeah,
else.
I don't disagree with that. It all depends on the pitcher of the day, who's hot when we get there.
But what hurts is now you bring Torres and Urshela back, you're going to get back into a little bit of a righty frenzy because if you lose Odor and Velasquez, you only have Rizzo and Gallo now to kind
I
of
think
cut it
that's going to
up.
be it. But I think you could, as soon as Torres is ready, you get him back in the lineup and you get him to play and see which guy we're going to get.
He's
You
just
know,
so good when he's good.
yeah,
Like
well,
that's
that's
what
what you
like
got to see. If he's really struggling, you can't afford to play him in the playoffs, and you can't afford him to learn,
yeah
like get healthy in the playoffs, unless you've got a 2-game lead or a 3-game
yeah.
lead. Then you could sneak him in there and try to bring some rest. But it's the playoffs. If he's not back healthy and he's not hitting, let the young kid play
So,
and give
yeah.
him a chance. I don't see. I see Odor being pinch hitter primarily in the playoffs. He'll try to golf one out of the stadium,
In big scenario, I do see
yeah,
that in big
or
scenarios.
and a late inning replacement as far as defense. But I
That
don't
whole
think.
bench can run. I mean, if and besides the catcher, if you throw Gardy still has somewhat of wheels. Velasquez and Wade are fast, and Odor has shown that he could steal. Like,
Yeah,
and so
all these
they
guys can seal.
yeah.
It's good.
Judge
Well,
stealing, LeMay
let's move
stealing.
on because we're getting close to football season. Our Giants play this evening. We'll see how it goes. Legendary me and Matty's disagreements over the future of Daniel Jones. I am looking tonight's game. It's all about how the starting offensive line, one, do they all get out there? Because you never know what injuries these are real, and how do they perform in a real atmosphere? It's all about the offensive line for me. That's what's going to make the offense move or just stall out, regardless of the stars. I don't expect to see, Tony's, who's been a real disappointment so far before
Yeah.
the season started. I don't expect to see him tonight. I don't expect to see really
That's what
much.
I'm tired of. I that's what bothers me, is they're talking like these guys need time, and if you're not going to tell me, I want to see. My big thing is I want to see if Jones shows up. He hasn't played in a real game since last year, so he should play the first half, and I know he is. I don't
Yeah,
know. Barkley's probably not. I don't know if
but
Galladay is. I don't know what
I
Shepard
don't
is,
think
and
I don't think Galladay is. I think Shepard is scheduled to play part of the first half with Jones. I think he'll get healthy starters in there to play for the first half, and then the rest will be a tryout for whoever's going to make the roster.
well, my here's the thing. I like is like if Tony's not injured, then they're not going to play. We need to see like practice and scrimmages
We
is
don't.
not where you
There's
only can
something
see
wrong with
these
Tony. We
guys.
don't know.
Like
Oh,
that's
we just got to stop. There's a reason they're not playing him. He's either done something where he's suspended or that he has an injury where he can't play. And if you can't play, that's it. Like you can't. There's no value in a 17 game season forcing a guy in early to get hurt. So
mhm,
he's a
yeah.
rookie. He's going to just have to sit on. It's going to be a slower start for him, but it's a long season.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm looking for some good minutes for these guys who haven't played, like the starters. And also, I mean, I saw on ESPN this week, they were talking about the Giants. It was First Take, and I didn't like them. Stephen A. Smith wasn't there, so you don't got to worry about it. But Max Kellerman, they were talking about something about Daniel Jones, and he said he wished that the Giants had drafted his replacement. And I was like, oh, whatever. Like, because I still think
yeah,
Jones might have a good year. But actually, I clicked on the video, I watched it, and they were saying he was like, oh, yeah, like I expected the Giants in the draft if Fields dropped to their position. Yeah, grab him, like stuff like
but he
that.
didn't.
Yeah, well, that's what he's saying. He's like, hypothetically, wanted them in like in a scenario like that to like pick someone up. And he's like, he said the reason he says that is because what he sees in Daniel Jones is a good NFL quarterback in the future, a good NFL quarterback, but he says he doesn't see greatness. And that's what I haven't, that's the words I haven't been using
But
to
that's like
people.
me saying that. He's not on the field with Daniel Jones. Like, stop with the
But look,
crazy. Like,
we only
he's got
can,
this year. We'll go out and see if he could do it.
but
I
we
mean,
only can say from what we've seen, only from his performance, not the people around him, from his performance, what he's done in college, what he's done in the NFL. That's all we can see and from what it looks like, it's not so bright. From what he's done personally, only him solo wise, whatever other effects there are, offensive line, receivers, whatever. From what he's done wise,
I've seen
think there's
times where he looks great when he rolled out and runs 90 yards for he falls, but for a touchdown. When he throws a deep balls and guys drop the ball. When he's getting, I agree, he made a lot of mistakes, but God, the pressure. He's starting his third year. Josh Allen, people were ready to throw him off the boat already. The Jets, in that draft with Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, would you rather have him? No, he's already on his second team. The other guy from Ohio State that everyone wanted the Giants to draft, oh, yeah, he's on his third team already.
Yeah, but no one wanted to draft Daniel Jones, though, except Eli Manning and the mayor.
You don't know. We don't know that for sure. And it doesn't matter. You know what matters? How he goes out and does this year. And then we resolve it. But all this other speculation is you don't think he could be great. Troy Aikman looked horrible after his beginning of his career. Eli Manning didn't come out like blazing the path.
Third year, he won a Super Bowl. I mean, and you look.
But his first 2 years were like so great. Like people forget, Phil Simms took a while. Such a finicky crowd. Like it's not the easiest thing to do. But I don't want to argue about Daniel Jones and the Giants.
I want to make one more point about Jones. I think the problem that I have is I see good games. He had good games last year, like the Ravens game. I thought he was good. The final game against the Cowboys, I thought he was good. The first game against the Cowboys, I thought he was good. I thought there were many games he played well, but what hurts is in those big moments, it seemed like he couldn't come through. You're talking about those points like that last drive against the Rams.
I can't argue about this because this is the same argument over.
No, I'm not trying to argue. I'm just trying to make the point that
can't. But the reason you're asking him to perform in clutch moments at the same and saying, well, we could only look at him. But meanwhile, he's standing behind the team who dropped close to the most passes in the league. Think of at the end of last year, if Evan Ingram catches that pass, the Giants win that game. And
that wasn't his fault, though. That wasn't his fault, though. That game doesn't fall on him, though.
But that's where Daniel Jones gets criticized. If he connects on that pass because the guy catches it, he gets clutch for a game-ending touchdown pass. Mm-hmm. All those offensive lines who are letting guys crush him and strip the ball. Yeah. So it does have to do with your team. It's everything that goes into in football. Like how many times do you see a guy like Ryan Tannehill was horrific with the Dolphins? When he goes to a team who gives him a solid plan, gives him weapons, and gives him a thing, he was the most efficient quarterback in the NFL. Like, that's all the Giants need. They don't need him to be the best ever. They don't need him to be Patrick Mahomes. But you can't accept the guy who's getting blasted and has the worst pass protection in the NFL to be great. Why, when people ask why doesn't he have great stats, it's pretty clear he doesn't have great stats. He's getting knocked on his ass, and this guy's dropped the ball. And that makes confidence slip, and you just get worse. Like, if you need to get a string of confidence where he feels like he could zip the ball in there, and hey, my guys will actually go catch it instead of having a defensive back jump in front of them.
Well, let me ask you a question then. Like, do you think, though, like are the little spurts like enough? Because you look, and I know you can't, I know it's really hard to compare to other sports because other sports are so different from each other. But like you look at other like specific things, like guys that lead into superstar players. You look at Judge, his rookie year, almost 90% of the moments he was put in that were clutch, he came through. Rookie year.
Baseball, it's him versus the pitcher one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Football, it's not. Football, a quarterback could step back, a holding call. Now it's 1st and 20. If they don't score on that drive, they end up blaming the quarterback, but it wasn't his fault. Like when all of a sudden you get down, when someone else drops the ball, when someone turns it over, when a tight end misses the block and the offensive line switches to the wrong man and a guy runs free right in your face and you try to get rid of it because it's 3rd and long and you got to get rid of the ball and it gets picked. That's kind of.
I know, but you look. That was a bad. I agree. That was a bad example. But
all I'm saying is it's a team sport. His offensive line was atrocious. His receivers were atrocious. He was missing Saquon Barkley, who was their best asset. So the offensive line better be, they just need to be middle of the road,
Yeah.
and then we can make a judgment. But if someone's laying on their back the whole time, getting just crushed, don't expect them to
Yeah.
play great. Like that, no one,
Mhm.
everyone was like Tua is the greatest thing ever. Now there's talk that Tua is getting traded. And they're talking
Yeah.
about bringing in Deshaun Watson. Tua was the greatest thing ever. Early in Alabama, people were jostling to tank to get him. He's had 1 year in like
Mhm.
COVID situation, and they're give it a break. People need to
Well,
lay off the pedal and realize that these people are barely 20 years old in that
I'm
professional sport.
I'm just tired of seeing with Jones, as I'm just tired of seeing, because I think there has to be a point, and some people don't want to include this when they're talking about him, and I think he will have a good year, but some people want to forget that when he was drafted in the top 10 overall, and we're still seeing spurts of greatness on year 2, year 3. That's what I want to see different this year. I don't want to see spurts.
Well, that's what.
I want
Let's
to
not.
see a
Well,
game that's good. That's
listen.
great. That like
Let's not.
Trevor did today.
Trevor.
Played
Let's
great.
talk about year one and a COVID year with a new coach. Like, let's just give him a shot to.
That was year 2.
Well, that's what I'm
Well,
saying. Let's see how year 3 goes before we just put the nail in the grave already. Like, jeepers creepers. Last year was one of the weirdest
statute
years
of
ever.
limitations.
Yeah, but well, that's how you end up making poor mistakes, by making decisions before you've seen what really happens. So we will see, but at least give him 4 games into this year before the whole people freak out
Yeah.
and go nuts. Now he doesn't have the excuse. Now he's the second year in the same offense. It's not a new offensive quarter. It's not a new coach. He did get spring practice. They did get somewhat.
Preseason.
Yeah,
Or
they
now
got
a
some
court
preseason.
half.
They got joint practices. They got what they were supposed to do. Now let's see if he could do it. If he goes out and throws 6 interceptions in the first 2 games, then yes, then it's on him.
Well, what do you think then today? Like, are you looking from something from him? Like, I'm looking for him to
I'm
look
purely looking
decent.
for the offensive line to keep him standing up straight. From him, if I assume Galladay's not going to play, just move the ball. I don't think they'll play Barkley, to be
Exactly.
honest. They just need to move the ball down the field with not a lot of penalties. They're not playing with their weapons. They're probably not going to be, revealing too many things. But just show me that you could block and give him a chance to throw the ball. And for
Yeah.
him, show me you could not throw interceptions and move the ball a little. I don't need 40
Yeah.
first half points. If they score 10 points in the first half, a touchdown and a field goal, and they move the ball, and I'll feel good about that.
Do you want to see him run? Do you want to see Jones take it
Not
out
in
of the pocket?
spring. No, not
Yeah.
now. Why would you risk?
I want to see like I want to
He
see
should
like
slide down the moment he gets a first down.
like a 11 and 15, like 100 yards and like that. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
Like,
just looks. It's the line that we're worried
look
about.
good. Just don't be bad. Just look good. Like, you don't have to be
Yeah.
great. Just look
Well, let's
decent.
move on because we got a lot to cover today. With right before the NFC or the NFL season starts, we're going to run through the NFC West and give some predictions, and we're also going to quickly run through the AFC East for predictions. Where would you like to start? In
To
the
the
East?
AFC.
In the AFC East. So let's start with last year's winners, the Bills. Obviously, Josh Rosen, good deal, great coach, Stephon Diggs. They bring in Gregory Rousseau, a guy on the defensive line who the Giants wanted to draft. I believe Emmanuel Sanders is in their camp, but I haven't heard one peep out of him. Matt Breida is there. Other than that, they pretty much kept their team intact. They're ready to roll. The over under, I believe, for the Bills is 11 games. I see them as an 11-6 team. I think they're going to be solid. I don't think they are better than the Chiefs, but I think they'll be in the final 4 of the AFC. I think they're a solid team, and they're solid across special teams, offense and defense. What do you think?
I would say exactly the same thing. I had them coming in pregame 12 and 5, so I guess the same
There you go.
same
There you
thing.
go.
But I agree. On the other hand, I think they can beat the Chiefs. I don't even think they should have been playing the Chiefs in that scenario because the Chiefs shouldn't have been there. But that's a story for a
Yeah.
different time. But I think they can easily win the Super Bowl this year. I think their odds should be better than
They are
most.
one of the they are a team that you wouldn't be surprised to win the Super Bowl.
I think they could beat the Packers without a doubt. I think they could beat the Chiefs. I'm not saying they're better, but
I
I
do
think
think they're very much like the Packers in that quarterback gets hurt, season's over for that team.
that is 100% true.
That I mean, let's face it, that goes for most teams. But
You can't put that there. They don't have a backup
Mitch
that's going to give you
Trubisky is
50%.
not taking this team to the Super Bowl. Next
No.
up in the division, I think the Vegas. Wow, I'm wondering if I wrote this down right, but they have the Dolphins at 9.5 wins. The Dolphins, I saw a lot of rumors over the last 48 hours, Deshaun Watson trades, which to me is absolutely insane how any general manager in his right mind could trade for a person who has 22 sexual assault complaints against them. If I was the
Not
owner,
till he's proven innocent.
I would fire my GM for even engaging in these talks, especially when you have Tua, who is supposed to be great. But regardless, they go in there with Tua. They got speed with Will Fuller. I think their coach is highly underrated. Maybe people think Brian Flores, I think, is terrific. Their defense was great last year. Jalen Waddle, another target of the Giants, I've heard is nothing but explosive. They also got another guy that the Giants were rumored to take in Jalen Phillips on the end. Very young team, lots of talent. I think they're going to end up 9-8 because I don't think Tua is as good as everyone thinks, and I think it's only year 2. It's going to take some time for him to adjust and find his game, unless they change their offense to a lot more, play action pass and a lot of things Tua could do really good, a lot of option plays.
Yeah, I mean, I had them 7-10. I don't think they're going to be that good. I love Waddle. I think is insane. I think he's by far the best wide receiver in that whole class. I think he's one of the best players drafted out of that whole entire class, top 3. But I think that they landed an incredible wide receiver. I still don't think I think Tua's going to be one of those guys that, like my dad would say, with like Will Greer. If people out there know who that is, he played at Florida and then got like banned for something illegal or whatever. And then he came to West Virginia and he had David Sills. And then I think he had one of the Ridley brothers there. And he was fantastic at West Virginia, but it didn't correlate to didn't transfer over to the NFL. And I think that's what Tua is. Tua was fantastic in college. I don't think it's working out for him in the NFL. I don't think it transferred over well.
I agree. I think the Dolphins have to adapt their offense to accommodate who he is a little more, and go back and maybe see if they could work some of his favorite college plays in there to make him more comfortable and use what his talent.
And it's very frequent though. You see scenarios like that people who are great in college and it doesn't work out in the NFL. I think you see that more often nowadays. Like with these guys, well.
That's why these guys get paid to predict him. But everyone and all their family predicted Tua to be the greatest thing ever. And there's a little gloom in Miami right now. But again, long season to go. We didn't even get started. Next up, the Pats. Again, the over is 9 from what I've gotten. Lots of changes. You got Mac Jones coming in at quarterback. You still have Cam Newton, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, who is hurt, Jonnu Smith. They just traded Sony Michel, which just started to play great at the end of last year. He was a first-round pick, and they ship him away. I don't get that. They have a young running back, Stevenson, who they like. They brought in Henry Anderson, Matthew Judon, who I think is awesome on the defensive line. They bring back the captain of Miami's defense, former Patriot Kyle Van Noy. They get back Dunta Hightower, who was on COVID last year, on opting out. So their defense, which carried them last year, is got a lot more pieces. I think their defense is going to be great. Their offense, which was atrocious last year, I think they could only get better either year 2 of Cam Jones. I think Mac Jones will eventually be in there. I give Cam Newton maybe 6-7 weeks unless he's playing at a Pro Bowl level.
Not even.
Yeah, I feel like Belichick wants him to be in there because he really appreciates a veteran, and he's nervous to put all that weight on Mac Jones too early. But you're right. If they
But the word out of camp is that Mac Jones is playing great, and Cam Newton's just good.
in the Giants practice day one, it was all about Mac Jones. Day two, it was about the Giants.
I want to see what Mac Jones does in this preseason game today and see how. And then I can get because I don't care what they say. Oh, word out of camp. Oh, he looks great. I don't care about that. I want to see what happens in the
Can't go
game
day to
today,
day with these
and then
people.
I can. Yeah, then if I see him play a half or a quarter and a half, I think I get a good estimate of who I think whether Newton or Jones should start. So I have the Patriots at 9-8. I think they're going to be better than they were last year. They could be better than 9-8. I don't think they're much. I don't think they're going to be better than 10-7.
I think the Patriots. I do. I think, as much as it hates me to say, I think they're going to be right up there with the Bills, either 10 or 11 wins, and I think the Bills will beat them head to head, and that will be the difference. But they could be neck and neck tied. They could be an 11-win team. Their defense is terrific. Their offense was epically bad, and they were still. They're always a competitive team.
Well, the one thing I think that separates.
But then your dad's team.
Yeah. The last point in the Patriots I was going to make, I think the one thing that separates them between the Bills is the Bills have an all-star quarterback and an all-star wide receiver that I think the Patriots lack.
Yeah, the Bills
like
have
that.
a much better offense than the Patriots.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots have a better defense, but not as significant as the discrepancy on the offense is. Yeah. I agree with you. The two best players are on the Bills. Then there's our Jets, your dad's team. Zach Wilson, everyone's happy. He looks terrific. Everyone's psyched about that. They lose their best, or should have been their best defensive player, Lawson, out for the season. Jared Davis, his injury, I don't know how many weeks. In the beginning, it was total panic. Now I'm hearing a little better. I'm assuming it's going to be at least 6 weeks. They bring in Vera Tucker to help protect Zach Wilson. They bring in Elijah Moore, who's people have been raving about. They raved about him before the draft, and they're raving about him even more. He could be the number one wide receiver by the end of the season for the Jets. You have Michael Carter, who's looked great on running back. They bring in Corey Davis, who will be their number one, who's looked great. C.J. Mosley is back from opt-out. They were going to start the most rookies and most young kids in the NFL. And when you do that in the NFL, you're going to be a bad team. I think I got the Jets at 3 wins for the season. The over-under is 6. I think 3 or 4 is the best you're going to get for the Jets.
I disagree with that for a couple reasons. One,
all right, shoot it at me.
Their schedule, I think, is a big thing. And it's a multitude of points. Last year, 2-14. They're not going to get worse than that. That's impossible for them to get worse than what they were last year.
They should have been worse last year, except for that stupid Hail Mary.
But if you look, the Jets have some fearing parts of their team. Like, I really think Corey Davis is going to be outstanding for them. And if you give Zach Wilson, Corey Davis, and then you have, I think his name's either Darnell or Denzel Mims. I know his last name's Mims. I think he's incredibly underrated as a wide receiver.
Well, Mims has been not performing nearly as good as the rookie has. Mims was last year supposed to be a great receiver, but Elijah Moore has outperformed him tremendously in camp. And don't forget, we're forgetting Crowder on the receiver core.
And I think their receiving core is the second. They're not the worst in that division. I would take their receiving core over the Patriots every single day. I might even take their receiving core over the Miami.
Bills and the Dolphins receivers are certainly better. I don't think you could say the Jets receivers are there yet, but they certainly have some two young guys potential. Who make you go, they could be really good really soon.
If Wilson gets a good offensive line, he can get those guys some separation, and he can also run the ball.
The question: how good is the Jets' offensive line going to be? Is going to be a thing, and then you have a rookie who's going up against a great coach in Buffalo 2 times, a great coach in New England. Like, he's going up against some defensive coaches who are going to be looking to pick off rookies and teach them a lesson. You could throw the ball great, but the NFL is going to be highly different than what they've ever seen. I think the Jets' defense is bad.
Well, I think a big point here is I don't think the Jets fans, though, are asking them to win the division or win. This is moral victory, and I think
there's no moral victory. Jets fans think they're winning the Super Bowl.
But I think I have the Jets at 5-12, 6-11. I don't think they're a terrible team anymore. I don't think they're at the level
I
that
think
Houston is, or at the level that
no way.
Philadelphia is, or
If
that they're at the level that
I
some of these
agree.
terrible teams are. They
If you're a Jets fan, you have optimism. You
There's
don't.
some
I think
respectability for their team this year,
yeah,
and I
your
think them
GM
6 and
and your
11 with the
coach both
schedule.
bring respectability. Your
Yeah,
drafts through this GM and through this coach, people have said great things about. You've made smart moves. You're not bringing in Le'Veon Bell and doing ridiculous Adam Gase things. So their respectability is way up. But it also takes time to get a team to go. It
the
takes time
schedule's
to get.
not too hard either. So I would sit at 6-11. That would be
All
my
right.
final record for the
All
Jets.
right. For the Jets, you got 6 wins. And we're gonna roll out this NFL with our last division for the night. We're gonna go to the NFC West, which is
Ugh.
arguably the best division in football. The most probably will be the most competitive division in football. We're gonna start with the bottom right now. The Cards are picked for 8 wins. They bring in J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, two outstanding players. Just don't know how healthy they're gonna be. Of course, there's Kyler Murray is going to be the story. Very thin team. They don't have a
DeAndre
lot of depth.
Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins is the main focal point of the offense. They lose Patrick Peterson. They bring in Connor, but I still think Chase Edmonds is the running back.
Agreed.
Especially in fantasy, if you're going to own someone, Chase Edmonds is the guy to own. It's a big year for the Cardinals because their coach is kind of in that year 3 scenario too, where people have liked the offense, but they don't know if it hasn't translated into success. They're going to play in the, like I said, the most competitive
Good
division.
Yeah.
I like the flashy offense and stuff, but it's not how I would run a team. I like the ground and pound, like get the big guys in there because you can't stop when a team physically beats you.
Mm-hmm.
Weather could stop a spread offense, and then you're in big trouble. I think they got the Cardinals pegged for 8 wins, and I agree with them. I think they're 8 or 9 wins. They're an average team. They're going to split all their games, their division. They'll shock you some weeks and look explosive because when they're on, they have players that could blow up. But by the end of the year, I think they're too thin. They'll be beat up and they'll fall apart down the stretch.
Offense is incredible to me, but I think I would say that I had them at 9-8. I mean, I think they're still a really good team, but they're a work in progress, and there's no way they win in that division or win that division in that division. But there's things to be excited about. I'd be very excited about the offense if I was a Cardinals fan, but like you said, I'm afraid of the division if I'm a Cardinals
I feel
fan,
like that team,
and they're not good enough.
Yeah, they got some flashy names, but it's just, do you really think it's all going to come together and everyone's going to stay healthy? It's hard to believe. Next up, Seahawks. It's been a tumultuous offseason for the Seahawks. Russell Wilson wanting to trade out in the beginning of the year. Jamal Adams eventually got his contract re-signed. I think and paid too much. You still have a key offensive tackle, Dwayne Brown, for a team that offensive line was terrible and was Russell Wilson's main complaint. You need to get Dwayne Brown back. Their team, I think, is razor thin in depth. Not many additions. They brought in Gerald Everett, the tight end. They kept Chris Carson and Tyler Lockett. They have great receivers in Lockett and Metcalf, with Wilson throwing the ball. Offensive line, not good. They've been able to. Chris Carson's pretty good. Their defense is just, they are so thin. I don't think this team will be able to hold up throughout the whole season, especially in the competition. They have them pegged for 10 wins. I got them at 9 wins on this season.
I'm 10-7, just like Vegas. I have them barely better than Arizona because of Russell Wilson, his experience. I love DK Metcalf. I think their all around skill set to me is more appealing than kind of Arizona, like what they do well, and like I just have more faith in them. So I would put Arizona 9-8. Then I got the Seahawks at 10-7 in that division.
All right. Next up, each team is picked for 10.5 wins where I researched this. So we'll go to the Rams. All the news is Stafford, 100%. That, as has been the theme with the other teams in this division, they got few people making a lot of money that is taking up all their salary. They have unbelievable defense. Aaron Donald's the key to that. Probably the best defensive player in all the NFL. Stafford, if you believe what the pundits say, he is going to drastically change from what we told Jared Goff when he was behind center. The coach used to have to tell him the reads and give him the reads. Stafford's a much more experienced quarterback, should be able to adjust. I think they have good wide receivers.
Yeah.
Really interesting game plan. I think their offense will be great. Their defense, they should be a good team. However, super thin. They're an injury away. If Stafford goes down, Donald goes down, all of a sudden it's a deck of cards with this team. I think they're going to be an 11-win team, but I don't think they're going to go far in the playoffs because I don't think they'll be healthy by the time the playoffs rolls around.
I can tell you, I agree with that, and I think I have them at 9-7, 9-8, or 10-7. I don't think they're better than Seattle. I rather have Seattle than. I'd rather be a fan of Seattle than of the Rams. I think Stafford's good, and obviously it's a very promising upcoming season for them. But I still don't think they're better than 9-8 or 10-7. I don't think they're a powerhouse like Seattle was last year. Like I don't think they're at that level. So I know this division's gonna be close, and their division's pretty good. But I think they're third place, and I have them at 9-8 or 10-7.
Interesting. It sounds like you have the same division winner as I do. I think that's going to win the division is San Francisco 49ers. I think they have the best built roster. They are deep. They get back Nick Bosa. They get Kittle back, who people forget was dominating the league as a tight end and just rewriting the position. I love Trey Sermon as a running back. I know.
Wow.
I mean, just seeing his runs at the end of last year were incredible, especially knowing he's going to walk into that 49ers offense who could run the ball against anyone. Like, it is unbelievable, their schemes for that. Obviously, we all know quarterback's the situation. What are they going to do? If they go to the rookie too early, I'm going to be a little nervous. But then again, Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't give me a lot of faith. But I think the team's so good, regardless of who's at quarterback, even if they're, splitting times and, rotating, I think they're going to win 11 games and win the division.
I mean, I don't think they're the best team in the division, but I think they will win the division. And I think they're either going to be 10-7 or 11-6. I could see them being in a tie, a two-way tie with Seattle. Honestly, a three-way tie with Seattle and the Rams. I don't think they're the best in the division, but for some reason, with the schedule and their lineup offensively, and if everything could tie together with Sermon, I think they will win the division as not being the best team in that division.
Yeah, they get Kurt Samuel, Kittle, the brutal running game that they have. I think they're just going to run it down people's throats.
I mean, when you look at, they were showing the starting team today, you had Garoppolo, Juszczyk, Deebo Samuel. I don't know if Sermon was starting there, but then you had Kittle. Do they have
Mostert would probably start, but they'll run. Yeah. They'll probably run multiple running backs as they usually do. Sermon just is, when he gets outside, it is scary.
He's a mixture of Barkley and LeGarrette Blount, or kind of in the middle of those guys.
He's just gonna kill cornerbacks running and breaking free. I can't wait to see it. But yeah, so you have them winning the division. We're pretty close there. Next week we'll finish our other AFC divisions and maybe give you a little fantasy spotlight next Sunday. Little college football show this week. We'll do our picks. Matty's a little better at the college football than me, as I only really watch the SEC. So any picks outside the SEC, pretend like I have any clue what I'm talking about. Matty, it's been a pleasure. We went through a lot today. Let's go Yankees. Let's go Giants.
Hopefully get some excitement from the first. Hopefully I could turn off that first half of the Giants game with feeling good and a nice transition to ESPN to watch that Yankees game tonight and see. Yeah. Hopefully everything goes well. But I think it's a very promising season. College football, for people out there who's very, very hyped about it, that's only a week away, and it's going to be a huge tailgate.
It already got started. Already at Nebraska choking already.
I'm staying up the whole night, 4-day weekend next week. For me, teacher work day
I
on that
forgot.
Tuesday. I know for the rest of the country it's three-day weekend, but
I'll take
that's gonna
3,
be a
Matty.
fun
I'll take
weekend.
3.
Yeah. Any days, any half days, any days we could take. But a lot of positive outlook if the Yankees can make the playoffs. Knicks, Rangers starting. They both have playoff promising seasons.
Oh, it's the
And
best time of season.
the
It's coming. It's
Giants.
all coming, people. We're
Right.
almost there.
I want to see October 26th. Yankees starting the World Series. Knicks season's underway. Rangers are undefeated through how many games? Because that's definitely going to happen. And then
Oh, yeah, easy 20 straight.
the Giants. Hopefully, the Giants are just above 500 by that point.
Oh, come
Hopefully,
on. They're going to be on fire. Daniel
they.
Jones and
I
MVP.
think. I don't. I forget what I said their record would be, but I've been telling people I'm not shocked if the Giants are anywhere between the 9-8 and 11-6 phase. I think they're 10-7. That's me being nice and biased. 9-8, I think, is what they'll be. But
They're a 10-win team.
Very
10-win
promising.
team. It's going to happen. Joe Judge is the man. Matty, I love you. I'll talk to you next week. Let's hope it goes well tonight. I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you
Pinstripe
Wednesday.
strong. See you guys.
Later. Bye.